Hello everybody, this is Umitencho back with more drawings. So today we are doing, I believe, Anubis in his civilian clothing, Badamon, White Blaze, Sabrestrike, and Black Blaze. So finally, after what seems like forever, I'm finally touching some non-human characters. So my week's been alright. It's been very tiring. This Friday, for the last 2 weeks, there's been like a lot of college students, other college students, because I'm a college student myself technically. There's been like throwing giant block parties in my apartment complex, or at my apartment complex. And this particular Friday, it was so loud that it jerked me out of my sleep. Like I couldn't even decide to just try to just sleep through the party. It was just that loud. It was so loud, it was like the music was coming from my own apartment. So I had to stay up pretty much like 24 hours. So you watching me draw, you watching someone that's been up since like 12, I want to say 12:30 on Friday, I guess technically Saturday night. So I was pretty much, by the time I got to the drawing part of my stream, I was exhausted because I had been up for 24 hours. So technically I kind of rushed in a way, but I'm actually glad at how the results came out. I don't know what it is about animal forms, or at least cartoon animals, but I seem to be good with drawing those, at least in my opinion. At least for my standard, I think I do best with those. So you'll see. Let's see here. I think I'm shading in the dark. So one of the things I did this week, and I think I was doing it last week as well, is I'm darkening in the darker parts and then going in for lightest. Doing the chin, and I'm prepping, yeah, and I'm doing the shading, and I'm prepping for that shading. I didn't do that much smudging this week, not as much as I usually do. I love how much, I just gotta say, I love how much shading like brings out the form and makes it look more 3D in my opinion. So I am a true believer in shading. So that's my Anubis. I want to say this is my Badamon. This is like the master of all the darker, I think in a dub is like nether spirits or something like that, or underworld spirits that he draws power from. That's another reason why Toppa to me reminds me so much of good lord, the main bad guy from Thundercats, Mum Ra. Yeah, because he also, like, when he does his spells or transforms, he calls forth I think it's evil spirits or something like that. I forgot what they're called specifically. And then one thing I just realized when I was looking at the references, he has actual red hair. Now I didn't decide to color in this. Probably normally I would try to, but I was so exhausted. I was just like, I might just end up leaving this straight up white, and then let people interpret it as part of the It could technically be part of the headdress. Who knows? Well, yeah, I think it is part of the headdress because he has a black mustache. So I guess it is technically part of the headdress. So the headdress has like a red cloth or covering to it under it. But more like coloring in the dark parts, which I think I'm preferring now. I'm liking how that goes. That way, as I see it, if you start with the dark parts first and get those in, by the time you get to the lighter parts, you know, because your hands are going to probably be tired from the pressure. It'll help you with getting the light stuff lightly shaded, as opposed to burning all the energy of the light shaded stuff that doesn't need as much energy, and then you ain't gotta phone it in on the dark stuff when you get to that. And then me doing my smudging. But yeah, so I was pretty much up for 24 hours. So that was lovely. Yo, I did enjoy this week's progress in terms of the gaming and stuff. I might go ahead and start, I haven't even touched the raw footage of any of the games I've played so far. So I might go ahead and start doing some video editing for the games that I played. I think I'm going to go ahead and take a look over it, start working on the Jedi Fallen Order. And so that's my Badamon. Yeah, I'm going to look at the Jedi Fallen Order stuff and go ahead and get that. Even though I think I'm quite far, I might just be at the halfway point. But I stopped right at what is technically, at least from my game progress, the third trip to Dathomir, just after he confronted the ghost or the illusion of his master. So I don't want to spoil too much for those who haven't yet played the game and don't want the story spoiled for them. But I quite enjoy the game, and I was actually going back and looking at people's reaction to the trailer when the game was first announced. I want to say it's not like Sekiro and all that stuff. It's not like that kind of verticality and that level of detail in terms of the fights, but I like the combat. It can be frustrating at first, but you know, one thing I learned this week, of course, I'm working on White Blaze right now, but one thing I learned this week with it is the double bladed lightsaber is great for individual opponents. Like you fight with a single blade, they're pretty much, it's like purely your skill, but that double blade will compensate quite nicely. So I use a double blade when I go up against the Inquisitors, or at least non-named Inquisitors, or whatever those. They're not Inquisitors, I forgot what they're called. But they wear the black suits, but they're not like the fifth or second sister or whatever. Which was a hard fight when I fought. I think it was the ninth sister. I think I died probably like 20 times before I finally got good enough to beat her. And oh, was that so enjoyable when I finally beat her. And I really like how this White Blaze ended up coming out. Like I say, I don't know what it is about animal forms. I just do better with them. At least I think I do. But yeah. And then what else I gotta look at? I think I'm gonna enjoy going through it. I don't know if I'm gonna do it tonight though. But it's getting pretty late and I need to get ready. I need to make sure I'm ready for the stuff this week. I got assignment. I got a couple of things. I got tests this week. So I need to focus mostly on studying. So I'm going to be studying for my exams and make sure I'm alright, since those are significant on my grade thing right now. But in terms of progress, in terms of my financial crisis, no progress has been made, so I still might get kicked out of school anyway, regardless of my grade, so that's the thing. But we'll see. And that's my White Blaze. And then I'm working on Sabrestrike, I believe. Which I actually like how it turned out overall. I don't know what it was last week, but I don't know. When it came to doing the armored form for some of those characters, like Anubis, it just clicked for me on that drawing. But I like how this one turned out. And I think I'm doing better. Also, I think I'm doing better, at least this time around. I'm doing better with getting like the entire subject in the page, at least as far as the reference showed me. So I think I've gotten better with that, at least this time around. Yeah, that one took that little, I don't want to call it shoulder pad or whatever we call it, cuffs or whatever, neck cuffs or whatever, but it took a little bit. In the reference photo, that I guess our left, that neck pad or whatever was like completely black, so that's my artistic interpretation, going from the bottom left or the rest of it. And I didn't go crazy with Kale when his whole back was like all black. It's like, I am not finna be doing all that. All that ain't necessary. No point being extra and whatnot. Then of course me doing some shading. The left side is darker than the right, of course, because he's tilted towards, I guess, technically our right. Is it? If I were to turn around, would that be his left? Anyway, it's probably technically his left he's turning towards. I really like his helmet. He has my favorite helmet among all of the characters so far, I think, or at least one of my top 5. There we go. I love darkening the lines. They just make it pop out. And then there's some shadow. that's reflected on there. It's supposed to be like a metallic gold for Sabrestrike. And then finally, the last one of the day, which is Black Blaze. When I looked it up, I thought it was like the same character, but Black Blaze started out as an independent character of White Blaze, and then becomes a transformation of White Blaze or something like that. They end up like merging or something like that when facing up against Sabrestrike, ironically, who I just draw earlier. So I guess I was very good thematically, considering the slight short story shift, because I don't remember Blaze really being all that, even though he's technically supposed to be like a main character or whatever, but I don't remember him being all that significant, to be honest with you. His whole thing seems to be more like a cheerleader, and then like sort of protecting the non-armored characters like Mia and Yuli or whatever. I ended up having quitting the first reference photo. It was just, I hate how they like draw it from afar, and then one of the techniques they'll scrunch up the facial features. It's terrible. So I chose a different reference photo, which I like much better. I just hate when they do that. It's like far away, they scrunch up the face. It's technically far away, but then there's so much more detail, and then you gotta somehow get that drawn. It's like, no. And I don't know how much stuff back then was digital, but I look at some of this old stuff, and I'm just like, these people are just, there's a ton of techniques they were used to get this effect going. And he looks like a bear. The way I draw him, he looks like an armored bear than an armored black tiger. Putting in the shadow on his armor, then doing some shading. Like I said, there wasn't that much shade, at least in my opinion, compared to my usual. It didn't feel like I shaded all that much. But then again, I wasn't, completely confident when I was drawing and stuff. Like I said, I've been up 24 hours at this point, and I was just like, it's the last one. Let's just knock it out. Which is probably why I switched out the references. And I need to work on my objects. Them swords are just janky, so this will be another thing I'm gonna work on when I get done. But that's my Black Blaze. Thank you everybody who came by. Umishiro and Umitencho on my channels. You can find me on Instagram, Twitch, obviously YouTube, and you can find me on DeviantArt as well, and Patreon. So have a great day.